All right, out back here on the patio, a couple of things going on. A couple of new knives. Just got them in the mail today. Smith's. Actually very nice knives. They're nice and sharp. They're flexible blades. They feel strong. I like that for filleting fish. Both of them very nice. This one's especially nice. That'll be good for skinning and filleting fish. They have nice little plastic lightweight sheaths. And I purchased the knife and scissor sharpener. I use Smith's Arkansas sharpening stones. I've got a couple of nice ones and some really old ones I've had for a long time. But I really like the idea of using something mechanized, you know, because power always helps make the chore go quicker. Anyway, with long knives like this, using a short 8-inch stone doesn't always seem to be the easiest thing in the world to do. So I figure I'll give their scissor sharpener, knife and scissor sharpener a try. So what I have going on is all of the fish that we caught this weekend, which includes a couple of pigs. Of course, a 17+ pound smallmouth buffalo, several in the 5-pound range, and a 14-pound long-finned koi, which is actually a carp that was interbred with koi apparently, and must have been escaped from captivity or something like that, because the research I've done indicates that they were brought in the United States in the 80s. Looks like they were bred in a facility in North Carolina, and from there we have a bunch of funky fish in the rivers in Texas and probably in Florida and places like that. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and work on this. I will show you what I'm doing. Basically, all of this is going to get turned into bait for gar and catfish. That's the purpose of most of this winter fishing we're doing right now, is to stock up on bait. So I'm going to go ahead and vacuum pack everything in my food saver, which is really probably one of my favorite items. It seals up, it takes the air away. You don't have to pack everything in water like you did in the old days with Ziploc bags before we had something like a food saver, and makes for bait all summer. Fresh too. All right, get back to you in just a moment. All right, so what we have here is my 17.5 pound smallmouth buffalo. This thing is a pig. This is a native fish to North America. When you catch them, they're beautiful fish. They have a blue tint in their fins, and really powerful. This fin right here, I actually see them swirl on the surface occasionally, and when you do, you see this very distinct fin kind of pop up and just roll on the surface a little bit. They don't jump or break the surface too much, but they have really little mouths. Okay, so I mean, we use tiny little hooks for them, and very small bait presentations, and they work out pretty well. So what I need to do to vacuum pack these things is I'm going to dismember this fish into pieces that'll fit inside of the vacuum sealer bags. And before you put them in the vacuum sealer, you have to make sure you dry the fish off. So the first thing I'm going to do is chunk it all up, make a bunch of big chunks out of it, and then turn around and dry them off with the towels, pat them dry, and vacuum them up. So, new knife, let's see how she does. Probably should be using my kitchen breakers, but let's just see how this will go. Yeah, this is better for filleting. It's a lot of fish. I'm gonna go get the breaking knives out of the kitchen. Basically the big meat packing knives. Be right back. does. And I think this fish is just so big I might have to take a different approach. I think I'm going to fillet the meat off of it and see what happens after that. Goodness, this thing is just a beast. New rules. Yeah, this is better for filleting. It's sharper, it gets in the meat better. So I'm using this for gar bait and catfish bait. Probably don't need to keep all the bones like I would a smaller one. Got to get underneath the scales. They're so heavy. Look at the size of the scales on this thing. Freaking massive. You can count the, actually use the scales. I think you can use the scales and count the rings to see how many years old it is. Kind of like the rings of a tree. I might magnify that a little later on, see if I can give it a go. Because just like a tree, you've got a short, dark ring for winter, or the slow growth season. In the summer, you can see the rapid growth that they put on during the summer, just like a tree. So I'm actually going to put that aside and see what I can find out from that a little later. Okay, so I don't intend to keep the fins, but the scales will be fine because that's a good presentation for the gar and the catfish. Catfish bait, we just take this and pull it off of the you just use a chunk of meat because that's perfect bait for catfish. Still, I'm gonna get a lot of meat just from this. I'll use some of the rib cage for gar, some of the other stuff. We don't want to waste any of it, really. I mean, the majority of this can be used for gar. Just like some fish you can, like tilapia, I'll use the fillets and the finished fish for bait for alligator gar. What I mean by the finished fish is this, just the ribs and whatnot, but good Lord. Practically anything that smells like fish, I'll actually keep the head for gar bait because there's big boys out there that'll eat that just like it is. Let's go ahead and give it a flip. Do this side. Yeah, I expected this to chop up a little easier. I'm used to doing smaller fish, but I planned on throwing away fins just because I didn't think it'd be worth saving something like that when you got so much good meat. This is actually one of the reasons I got this bigger knife, is for bigger fish that I would like to fillet out, you know, for food for the dinner table, and just barely gets through it. That's kind of fun. Okay. Now, mind you, I don't need to make these perfect fish, you know, table fillets, because the purpose of this fish is literally for bait. It's so big. Oh, by the way, this is my personal best. Actually, I've never caught one this big before. Smallmouth buffalo. Really prevalent in rivers and streams, and I've always fished small lakes and ponds in my younger years in Illinois, and fished the Kankakee River and some of the rivers there a little bit. But we were always fishing for catfish, and we never really tried to catch something like this. If we probably knew how much fun they were to catch, we probably would have tried to picked up more of them. So that would be a filleted fish, but there's several pieces of this, including the rib cage with a lot of meat, and some other portions I probably could use for bait. I definitely can use the head for bait, so I'm going to work on taking that off, but I'll use the break-in knife because it's a pretty heavy-duty piece of fish. Of course, be careful when you're doing this. You don't need to be getting injured by the bait. Keep my hand above the knife. Probably get bolt cutters to get through the spinal column on this thing. Feels like it anyway. That's a joke. No, I'm not going to use bolt cutters on getting through my fish, but I will work my way around its spinal column in such a way that and I've seen guys fish for alligator gar here in Texas, and a lot of the videos on YouTube and whatnot, and they use massive pieces of bait for the really big ones. My goal this year is to catch a 8-footer. Caught a 6 foot 7 inches, my personal best alligator gar right now. So playing with that, keeping that in mind. Goodness, there we go. Figure an 8-foot fish with a mouth big enough to fit a football in, pretty easily be able to swallow this thing. Always be careful when playing with knives. Spinal column's right there. This right here is where the spine is. So let's see if we can. Yep, this one's going to be saved for Trinity River or Sims Bayou and Buffalo Bayou. Actually produced some big ones, big fish for me. So that one right there might end up being its own piece of bait. So I'll cut down here. Back to my sharp knife. Just cutting, just like I'm filleting it actually. Go right between the pec fins, or whatever these are, the anal fins. I used to know all the terms. Too much school. It's probably laymen that know better than me now. Okay. Yeah, cut this thing into steaks. Right there might be what it is. I'll make sure that there's actually a bone in here. It might work for a piece of gar bait. Nice and munchy. I actually had a catfish pick up on a gar bait, a big one. Of course, the story of that was that we got it up on the bank and lost control of it, and it got back in the water. Not a worry. The innards, there's no reason to save the guts, so I'm going to end up removing those here in a minute. I actually did, and this isn't a joke actually. I'm going to dry off my hand a little bit here. Probably gonna have to sacrifice a towel just to keep my hand dry. I've got another for drying the fish. They'll go quicker and easier after this because this is literally the biggest fish. So just keep your handles, even though they're non-slip type handles, they do get slippery. Try to keep them as dry as possible. And I said it wasn't a joke. A very heavy meat cleaver. No joke. Now this table is a little rickety because it's just a folding plastic table, but, and this is sharp actually. The rib bones are good for weight. That's actually the back of its throat. It's probably going to go in the garbage. This is dissecting a big fish 101. That's not going to be bait. That's going to be garbage. Okay. Yeah, this is just a big old piece of bait right here. That's 2 pieces of bait actually. Nice. Yep, those work good for bait. Look at all the fat in this. Holy cow, this fish has been eating good. I've never seen so much fat on a fish. Offal. Beautiful. Beautiful. Lots of bait. Lots of bait. Hope that's better. Can you see better? I can. I'm not quite sure. There's a lot of meat in here, but this, I should say there's a lot of smell and flavor in this, but there we go. Use a break-a knife, of course. Break through. Every bit of its bait. Now, alligator gar, what's interesting to me about them is they are, besides maybe white sturgeon in the Pacific Northwest, the largest freshwater fish in North America. It's literally a shark. They eat fish, they eat tilapia, a lot of tilapia, so I've been saving all of our tilapia carcasses for bait also. Because it's easier to catch them and save them in the wintertime when the bite's slow for just about everything else. And you can go out and catch fish, but it's a lot more selective. Scales are sharp. It's a lot more selective. It's fun to catch redfish and things like that, but I'm not exactly a fishing snob. Not that guys who just catch redfish and trout are snobs or not. They're just what they're interested in. I like to fish and hunt for anything I can in any season, wherever it's available. I'm going to be posting up a lot of videos from my younger years. Let's just say in my middle-age years. When I was a fat guy, not an old fat guy. Which is fun. Things from hunting and my shooting career, and I was a high-power marksman back when I had better eyes. Always use a tool for the job, I say. Okay, and I won't save the tail fin. Tail fin's huge. Okay, I got that. Each one of these is a single bait. If you're fishing for sharks, that would look like bait too. It's easier to clean out the yard at the end of this little adventure than it is the floor beneath me. Rinse that and then just rake that up, put it in the garbage. Okay, let's get down to turning these into, now I'll cut them the final pieces out in the field. So what I'll do is I'll cut them big enough to put them in the Ziploc bags, a couple at a time. So something like this. It's a good sharp knife to do this with. Thank God it is. So 17-pound fish probably reduced to 16 pounds of bait. With the exception of this piece right here, I'd cut each one of these in half in the field. So actually I'll probably just cut them now. They're gonna freeze together quite nicely. So slab of chunk bait there. And if you want to fish them for catfish, you can cut them down smaller, take them right off the bone. Now big blue catfish will pick up on these. They like it. And this is the most forward part of the fish, so I'll cut it to 3. Okay, fish number 1 done. So it's massive scales. Can't imagine how old this fish is, but he's not young. I stretch the imagination. All right, in just a moment I'm gonna take a sip of water and come right back and finish this up. Thank you. Be right back. How do they do that? I'm a new YouTuber, so. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys putting this in the vacuum packer. It's actually a really easy process. Usually open her up, pull out some bag. Oh, these are fishing baits. I'll make bags a little longer. It's not like we're putting a small amount of food in them. So basically I'd like to do about a day's worth of bait per bag. So sometimes you can't do that, you gotta break it down a little more, but basically this is what we do right here. Hold her open. I don't want to get it all funked up. The fish has to be fairly dry, okay, because the vacuum packer pulls moisture towards the front. 3, 4, 5, 6. We usually fish 3 pulls each at a time, so that's about an hour worth of bait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just okay, that's 12 baits. Dry my hand off here because I don't want to get the outside all funked up. Okay, now with the good old vacuum packer. I put the rough edge of the bag down. I don't know if it really matters. Bump it. Oh, it turned off on me. Okay, here we go. It's working slowly today for some reason. Yeah, it's good and dry. There we go. It seals the bag, and there we have a nice piece of nice bag of bait. Bingo. Look up and check. I don't know if you can see it in the sunshine, but I can see it there pretty good. It seals all the way across. There's a line. No breaks in the line. That'll stay frozen and fresh for quite a bit of time. Is everything okay with my thing? And another bag. It seals the edge of the bag on the other side to actually make the bottom. Which on this one, I don't think it did. It did not. So let's go like this. Did it there? Yeah, it looks like it did. So I'll roll that up a little bit. I'm just going to seal it because when I made the bags, I didn't seal the first one, so it must have been off when I turned it on. Okay, so when you do this, it hits seal, sealing the bag. Okay, so it just made a bottom. I go like this. Yep, seal across the bottom. So then fill this back in. Hold on. Okay. So this actually does have a seal. So I gotta. Okay, that has a seal. Just the first one I did didn't. So anyway, here we go. One, two, three. That's probably 2 baits. 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 2 baits. 8, 9. Actually, might as well make it right. 9. 10, 11. And I'll put a 12th piece in here. Call that 12. Yummy gar bait. Like I said, the alligator gar here are just freaking impressive. I fish for a lot of fish in a lot of places, and I think saltwater is about the only thing that compares as far as it may be the really big catfish. Yep, beautiful. Looks great. All right, so basically that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and continue vacuum sealing all this up. I've got a lot of fish. In fact, there's one I'm gonna make sure I do some video of here in a moment because it's just that cool. Talk to you in a bit. I got here a bunch of vacuum packed smallmouth buffalo and a common carp. They're all about the 6 pound, 4 to 6 pound size here. They just fit in the vacuum pack bags, so it's better to save the entire fish, just as I would mullets or tilapia or something else I'd be using for bait. And of course, the bigger one is vacuum packed. Oh, that one came loose. I have to re-vacuum pack the head. But all these are bags of bait. 2, 3, 4, and I gotta reseal this one. Sometimes sharp edges, what I'll just double bag it, put it in a new bag. Actually, that big head I'll probably split in 2 and use it as 2 baits in and of itself, or I'll use it for bull shark. I've heard that they make pretty good baits, so we'll find out. Quite a haul.